Alyssa Orange with us every Tuesday morning, host and actually sports director of the Varsity Vibe podcast, not just hosting the podcast, but basically figuring out everything they're going to do all week long, and always appreciate your time on these Tuesdays. Alyssa, what's going on today?
Hey, good morning, guys. Always good to be with you. We're just getting ready, for week 2 of the high school football playoffs. Week 1 was a lot of fun, and it gets more and more competitive every single week, more and more exciting. And so here we are in week 2.
I know last week I'd asked you who you thought might be stronger, 7A Central or the West, and then at least in the first round games, the West had the edge.
They did, yeah, and that was kind of what we talked about last week, that I just thought from top to bottom that the West was a little bit of a stronger side of the conference than the Central. And Little Rock Christian, the only one to get a win that played last week, and that was over Harbor. But Springdale going down to Cabot to get the win. Bentonville with a thriller over North Little Rock. And Bentonville West didn't play their best football last week, but they won 34-33. A big part of that was because of an interception with 10 seconds left to go by Dane Rennick in the end zone to seal the win for Bentonville West. But they had to come from behind at halftime to beat North Little Rock. And then I was at Fayetteville, PA, and Fayetteville just putting up offensive numbers left and right. Really a good showing from the Bulldogs to get that win over PA. And then I'm missing one more. But that was
Rogers.
That was an exciting Rogers. Well, Rogers had a bye. Rogers and Bentonville had a bye.
Springdale beat Cabot. 52-31.
Yeah,
I got Harbor was the only team to lose to Little Rock Christian.
Fayetteville, and yeah, we did it. Springdale, Bentonville West, Fayetteville. There we go. Okay.
Those are the ones.
Checked all our boxes.
I know you talked with Rennick. He's the kid that made the interception in the end zone for Bentonville West. What did he tell you about that play?
Yeah, I asked him, and he goes, well, ahead of that play, I knew that there were 10 seconds left, so I either needed to if I got it, to bat it down, or if I had an opportunity to pick it. He said, but once he threw it, I knew that I could go up and just get the ball and end the game. And then I also talked to Coach Pratt afterwards, and he goes, yeah, well, I didn't want him to bat it down because then they'd have an opportunity for maybe another play. So if you had an opportunity to catch it, you catch it. And he caught it at the highest point and did that. But it was they were very forthcoming about that game. It wasn't pretty and it wasn't perfect, and it wasn't a good win for them. Really up and down. Talking with Coach Pratt, he said, I just felt like this team couldn't get into a rhythm. Just nothing was really going right for us on Friday night. I know he was frustrated heading into halftime and challenged his guys to step up to the occasion and work for what they've been working for all season long. And they were able to pull it out, but it was not pretty for Bentonville West. So they're hoping to see if they can have a little bit more success and a complete game this upcoming game against a very good Conway team.
Tell me what you think of Rogers playing Little Rock Christian. Do the Warriors have a defense that could slow the Rogers offensive attack down? It's been the highest scoring, I think the highest scoring team in the state.
Yeah, so I talked to Coach over at Little Rock Christian this morning about that, and he said, look, we understand that Jeff Reagan is going to be a guy that we're going to have to game plan for, but it is tough, and it is really tough. There's one thing to see it on tape. It's another thing to see it in person, and he is just slippery and tricky, and he is a tough guy to bring down at that quarterback spot, and he's not very big. Like, he's my size, maybe. He is not a big guy, but he is so talented and athletic that he's just a hard guy to bring down, and he's a hard guy to game plan against. And then they've got weapons around him, like Titus Kramer in the backfield at running back, and then Braxton Lindsay, who we've talked a lot about too, who plays on both sides of the ball. So it is going to be a big challenge for this Little Rock Christian team, and I'm curious to see. They've said you can look at this as a game plan in itself. Sometimes just keep the ball away from their offense. Don't let them have the football and control the game clock. Well, if they can have some success running the football, Little Rock Christian with Jackson Ward, that might be their best opportunity to just keep it out of Rogers' hands. But it is going to be a battle with Rogers, and they are top to bottom, I think, just as good and talented of a team of any of the four that had buys this first week.
Alyssa Orange is the sports director of Varsity Vibe. You can look online at varsityvibear.com. And they tweeted out earlier, this would be really helpful for those of you. It's helpful for me right now. Brackets at every single level for the AAA playoffs, all from 2A all the way up to 7A. Super helpful there. And I also saw that the 6A playoffs, these are really interesting because you get a lot of schools who have never played each other before, and the conference reshuffling leading to first meetings of Jonesboro and Greenwood, El Dorado and Shiloh, and, the Northwest Arkansas teams getting the bye, so we'll see how that works out, too.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what's always fun about these playoffs, especially in 6A and 5A, where there's a little bit more these 7A schools are just so familiar with each other every year that it's just, who's better that year. But Jonesboro coming over here to Greenwood. We all know that Greenwood hasn't lost a game in who knows how long. And Shiloh's a really good team in the 6A. Farmington with a big win over Harding Academy. Now they've got to go to Joe T. Robinson in the 5A. Mountain Home getting the win. Harrison getting the win over Valley View. It's been a very fun first week, and it's just going to keep getting competitive.
Man, in 5A, Central really had some issues against the Western teams. I mean, you'd mentioned Harding got shut out by Farmington, Batesville blown out by Greenbrier, Elkins. That's 4A, but it looks like the 5A West had a pretty good week too. And we'd had a question here from. It's out of the 870 for you, Alyssa. Wanted to know if you had thoughts on Parkview versus Harrison in the 5A.
Yeah, that one's going to be a really, interesting game, too, with Harrison. And Harrison getting into the playoffs with a win in the final game of the regular season, right? And Parkview, who has just had so much success winning state titles over the years. And now Bobby Boulding is taking over that program. Talked to him a few weeks ago about just how they were young, and it took a little bit of getting punched in the mouth early on for them to kind of get things rolling. And they have so much expectation over there at Parkview that he was like, I felt like some of these guys had heard like, oh, you graduated so many guys, maybe you're not as good as you've been before. And it took them a while to kind of figure out that, like, yes, we've got some confidence in ourselves, and they're playing much better football right now when you want to be playing your best football. And so it's a really talented team that knows how to win. And I think that's so huge for teams in the postseason when you have the experience of knowing how to win football games. Man, doesn't that sound familiar? When you can take that and use it to your advantage. Now you play a Harrison team that is just having a lot of fun playing football. And, I don't necessarily know if they're going to sneak up on Parkview, but it could be a good game down there.
How do you view the Farmington-Robinson matchup? Robinson's the only, one of the two undefeated teams in the 5A. Farmington coming off a 44-0 blowout of Harding Academy. Yeah. Where are you seeing that game?
Well, for Farmington, when I talked to Coach Tice a few weeks ago, knew, Harding Academy was going to be a tough game, but they also knew if they win that game, who they likely were going to play, obviously, in Robinson. And I have to say, Camden Fairview gave Robinson a run for their money. There was a chance they were winning for a little bit of that game. And I was kind of wondering if that was going to be an upset that was going to shock people, but Robinson able to corral things together and get that win. So there is an opportunity for Farmington to have some success. Talking with Coach Tice, the biggest thing for them is they're coming back from a lot of injuries this year. They had Jordan Logue, their running back, who was injured. They had Aiden Lester, who was injured. They had some of their wide receivers who were injured, all in that Harbor game, the second game of the year. So because of that, they had a lot of other guys that they didn't really expect to have a lot of playing time play early on. Well, now Aiden Lester is back and Jordan Logue is back. And they've got guys back because they're healthy. And this is not necessarily the same Farmington team that they were in the middle of the season that they are now at the end with all these guys back healthy. So it could be a really fun matchup because I think Farmington is in their best place right now as a team top to bottom because they're feeling healthy now against a Joe T. Robinson team that hasn't lost a game.
What did Coach Pinto asked if Lester's got any scholarship offers? I don't know if you know that or not, but what does Tom Tice say about him?
Gosh, I'll have to tell you, I talked to Coach about this, and it's incredible. And he was showing me stats of Aiden Lester, and they're on my phone, and I wish I could pull it up, and maybe I can talk and do some finagling at the same time. But just his numbers this season, last season, how valuable of a guy he is, and he can't get a guy to take a phone call with Aiden. And it's one of those things where, maybe he's a little undersized in their mind, but this is a talented kid who deserves to be looked at the collegiate level. And it's pretty crazy. Okay, so I'm looking here at some stats here. He has had 2 interceptions this season, 19 touchdowns. He's got good numbers. I mean, it's pretty incredible. No fumbles. He has not fumbled the football in 2 years, which is pretty incredible.
That sounds great.
Yeah.
I'm sick of fumbles. I don't know about you, Alyssa.
Right. Yeah, same. But so he is he protects the football. He's talented. He's a leader. But recruiting in Aiden right now hasn't been very easy. So maybe some people will take notice in this postseason. But he's a kid who should get an opportunity at some level in college, you would hope.
Yeah. Alyssa, that's great stuff. We can leave it there, and there's a lot more to get to next week as the playoffs continue, building into championship games in Little Rock. Where can everybody register for the Varsity Vibe newsletter and download the podcast?
Absolutely. So varsityvibearkansas.com is going to get you to where you need to go. You can sign up for the newsletter, the podcast, YouTube, and our social platforms. I know you've checked it out, Phil, which I appreciate, but so much great access behind the scenes stuff that you're not going to get anywhere else. And so give us a follow because it's a fun time of the year.
You don't always win your first bet. That's why MyBookie has you covered. Use our code HOGS, H-O-G-S, and your first bet up to $500 is fully covered. If your pick doesn't hit, you get it right back with our Bet Back bonus. Go to mybookie.ag and use the code HOGS to claim your Bet Back bonus. MyBookie's where bettors win together because bragging's good, but cashing in is better. And your first bet is fully covered. Use our code HOGS.
Must opt in during the bet to use the Bet Back bonus.